In a quiet coastal village, where the waves lapped gently against the shore and seagulls wheeled in the sky, there lived a fisherman named Matteo. He owned a small wooden boat, weathered from years of use, and a modest net that had been passed down through generations. Matteo's life was simple, perhaps even ordinary by many standards, but to him, it was perfect. Each morning, before the sun had fully risen, he would row out into the calm waters, casting his nets with practiced skill. By mid-morning, he typically caught just enough fish to feed his family and sell a small surplus at the village market. That small surplus earned him just enough money for his basic needs, yet Matteo never felt poor. After returning home, he would spend the rest of the day with his children, teaching them to swim, telling them stories, and watching them chase each other across the sand. His wife, Maria, would prepare their modest meals while sharing laughter and conversation with him. On some afternoons, Matteo would simply lie under the warm sun, listening to the rhythm of the waves, feeling the gentle breeze against his skin, and marveling at the simple beauty of his life. He was content, rich in moments that money could never buy. One afternoon, the peace of the village was interrupted by the arrival of a businessman from the city. The man drove a sleek, black car down the narrow dirt road, and his sharp suit and polished shoes marked him as someone from a very different world. Curious villagers gathered at the shoreline, whispering among themselves as the businessman approached Matteo, who was mending his nets by the water. "Good afternoon," said the businessman with a confident smile. "I couldn't help but notice how little time you spend fishing. Don't you want to make more money?" Matteo looked up, smiling politely. "I fish enough to provide for my family and sell a few extra at the market. That is all I need." The businessman's eyes widened. "All you need," he repeated. "With more effort, you could catch more fish, earn more money, buy a bigger boat, hire workers, and eventually build a fleet. You could become very wealthy, perhaps one of the richest men in your region." Matteo listened, nodding slowly. "And what would I do after becoming rich?" he asked calmly. "You could retire early," the businessman said eagerly, "travel the world, buy a big house, live in comfort, and enjoy life without worry." Matteo's smile deepened. "And that is exactly what I already do," he said. The businessman blinked, confused. "But you don't have much money." "No," Matteo replied. "I do not have much money, but every morning I wake up and do what I love. I spend my days with my children, telling stories, teaching them, and watching them laugh. I enjoy the warmth of the sun, the taste of the fish I catch, and the sound of the waves. I sleep under the stars and live without fear. What more could I want?" The businessman, unable to understand this logic, shook his head and walked away muttering. Matteo returned to his boat, cast his nets once more, and worked quietly, as he had for years. That evening, as the sun began its slow descent and painted the sky in shades of orange and gold, Matteo's family gathered around a small fire on the beach. They shared their simple meal of fish and bread, telling stories and laughing together. Matteo watched his children's faces glow in the firelight and felt a profound sense of peace. In the days and weeks that followed, the businessman's words lingered in the minds of some villagers. Many were tempted by visions of wealth and luxury, believing that Matteo's life was too simple, too small. But Matteo continued his routine, unaffected. He rose with the sun, cast his nets, tended to his family, and rested under the warm afternoon sun. He knew that wealth was not measured by money or possessions, but by the moments of joy, love, and freedom that filled his life. Time passed, and Matteo grew older, as did his children. They learned from him that happiness was found not in the accumulation of things, but in living fully in the present. They learned that a life spent chasing wealth often left people exhausted, anxious, and empty, while a simple life, guided by purpose, connection, and gratitude, could be profoundly rich. One evening, as Matteo watched the horizon and listened to the waves gently lap against his boat, he reflected on the wisdom he had gained over a lifetime. He realized that the fisherman who had once felt the urge to do more or earn more had long since disappeared. In his place was a man who understood that contentment is not a reward for achievement but a choice we make every day. Matteo had everything he needed: a loving family, health, friends, freedom, and peace. The fisherman had learned the secret that many seek but few find. True wealth is measured not by what you have, but by what you appreciate and cherish. As night fell and stars sparkled across the sky, Matteo's heart swelled with gratitude. He had lived a full life, not measured in gold or riches, but in laughter, love, and the quiet moments of joy that made every day worth living. And in that realization, he felt richer than any king, happier than any merchant, and freer than anyone who had ever chased wealth without ever understanding the value of life itself.